There's something living under your porch right now. You may have seen it only once, a quick ribbon of movement sliding into the shadows the moment you stepped outside. Gone before your mind could finish the word that rose in your throat. Snake. And in that single syllable, something ancient woke up inside you. Your heart moved before your thoughts did. You wanted it gone. You thought about the shovel in the shed, the number for the man who removes these things, the children who play in that yard, and you felt in your chest that this was a problem to be solved. But what if the snake under your porch is not the problem? What if it is the solution and the warning that your property has been trying to give you all along? Today we are going to talk about the garter snake, the most common and most quietly misunderstood resident of yards across North America. We are going to talk about what it is actually doing beneath your steps, what its presence is telling you about the land you live on, and why the people who came before us for thousands of years across nearly every culture on Earth believed that a snake in the home was not a curse, but a blessing to be protected at all costs. Because that snake did not slither under your porch by mistake. It chose that spot. It read your yard the way you read a map. And once you understand what it found there, you will never reach for the shovel again. Let's start with something almost no one realizes. A garter snake does not wander aimlessly. It is one of the most environmentally sensitive animals that will ever set scale on your property.
That flickering tongue you have always found unsettling is not a threat at all. It is the snake reading the world, gathering scent from the air and the ground and pressing it against a sensory organ in the roof of its mouth, assembling a picture of your yard in a sense that humans simply do not possess. It feels vibration through the earth with exquisite precision. It tracks temperature, moisture, the scent trails of prey, the cool, damp pockets where it can hide, and the warm stones where it can bask. When a garter snake settles beneath your porch, it has run that entire calculation and arrived at a conclusion. This place has food, shelter, and safety. It is making a calculated decision. And the food it has come for is the thing that should concern you far more than the snake itself. Think about what a garter snake actually eats. Slugs, snails, earthworms, grubs.
The soft, destructive things that move through your garden in the dark and chew your seedlings down to nothing before sunrise. Larger garter snakes take it further. Mice, voles, the rodents that tunnel under your foundation, raid your shed, and gnaw their way toward your home. A single garter snake works your property as a silent, tireless patrol, moving through the exact gaps and edges and damp corners where these pests travel, hunting for free, asking nothing of you in return. Consider the slug alone. A single slug can lay dozens of eggs in a season, and a slug population, left unchecked, can destroy an entire bed of young plants in a matter of nights. The garter snake is one of the very few backyard predators that hunt slugs deliberately and constantly. While you sleep, it is doing the work that you would otherwise be doing on your knees with a flashlight, or worse, with poison. And consider the rodents. A single pair of mice can become dozens within a season, multiplying in the warm, hidden spaces of your walls and crawl spaces, faster than any trap can keep pace with. The garter snake, narrow, patient, built to pour itself through gaps no cat could ever reach, hunts them in the very places you cannot follow. It does not need bait. It does not need to be emptied or reset. It simply works. And that brings us to the warning. Because here is the part most people miss entirely. A snake does not stay where there is nothing to eat. If a garter snake has taken up residence under your porch, it is because your property is supporting a population of prey large enough and reliable enough to sustain a predator. In most cases, that means one thing. You have more slugs, more rodents, or more of something soft and multiplying than you ever realized. The snake noticed before you did. The snake is not the infestation. The snake is the response to it. This is the warning you want, the kind that arrives already solving itself. The garter snake is reading a problem in your yard that you could not yet see, and it is moving toward that problem to consume it. Remove this snake, and the problem does not leave with it. The problem remains, and now nothing is hunting it. But the garter snake is far stranger and far more remarkable than its appetite alone. Unlike most snakes, which lay eggs and abandon them, the garter snake gives birth to live young, a rare and ancient adaptation that lets the mother carry her developing offspring inside her, warming them with her own body until they are born ready to hunt. A single female may give birth to a dozen or more fully formed young in one season, each one already equipped with everything it needs to begin reading the world. You may even have seen it doing the one thing it cannot survive without, lying still on a warm stone or a sun-heated step, drawing heat into a body that cannot make its own. To you, it looked like an animal lying in wait. In truth, it was simply charging itself, the way the morning charges the whole living world. And it is tougher than it looks. The garter snake ranges farther north than almost any other snake on the continent, active on cool spring days when other reptiles are still locked in dormancy, enduring winters that would kill most of its kind. Some populations have even evolved a resistance to the powerful toxins carried by the newts and toads they hunt, a slow chemical arms race playing out over thousands of years in the wet grass at the edge of your lawn. This is not a fragile animal. It is a survivor that is simply chosen, out of all the places it could be, to survive near you. And then there is the gathering. As autumn cools, garter snakes travel, sometimes for miles, to ancestral underground dens called hibernacula, where they wait out the winter in a deep dormancy. In some places, these dens hold not dozens, but thousands of snakes, returning year after year to the same hidden chamber their ancestors used. In Narcisse, in the Canadian province of Manitoba, tens of thousands of garter snakes emerge each spring from limestone dens in one of the largest gatherings of snakes anywhere on the planet, living proof of how deeply these animals are woven into the land and how faithfully they return to the places that have kept them safe. The snake under your porch may belong to a lineage that has used that same patch of ground for longer than your house has stood on it. Now, here is where it becomes deeply personal, because for most of human history, the snake in the home was not feared. It was protected. In ancient Rome, households kept guardian serpents, painted on the walls of family shrines as the spirits of the home, the protective genius that watched over the family and its stores of grain. To harm one was to invite ruin. In ancient Greece, the snake was sacred to Asclepius, the god of healing, and the serpent coiled around his staff remains to this day the symbol of medicine itself, printed on the side of ambulances and stitched onto the coats of doctors who have likely forgotten why. In ancient Egypt, the cobra goddess Wadjet reared at the brow of the pharaoh's crown, the uraeus, poised to strike at any enemy who came near the king. The snake was not the danger. The snake was the one standing guard against it. Across the farmlands of Europe, from the Baltic to the Slavic countryside, a snake that lived in the cellar or beneath the threshold was a sacred guest. The Lithuanians revered the household grass snake as a bringer of fortune and a guardian of the home. To kill one was believed to bring sickness, fire, or the death of the family's cattle. These were farming people, people who stored their grain through long winters, and they had noticed, across countless generations, a simple truth. The homes with a resident snake had fewer rats, healthier stores, and better luck. They did not have the word ecosystem, but they understood it perfectly. In India, the serpent, the naga, is revered as a protector of water, of treasure, and of the home, honored each year in festivals where milk and offerings are left at the mouths of their burrows. Across all these cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, the same understanding surfaces again and again. Where the snake is welcome, the home is guarded. These were not superstitions born of ignorance. They were observations passed down by people who lived far closer to the soil than we do. People who watched, season after season, what a snake actually did for the place it lived. And there is the skin. The garter snake, like all snakes, sheds its entire outer layer in one continuous piece, emerging brighter and renewed. For thousands of years, across nearly every culture that ever encountered them, this was read as the clearest symbol nature offered of rebirth, of healing, of life shedding the old and beginning again. The animal you wanted to kill is, in almost every mythology humans have ever built, a symbol of life itself. But there is something else you need to understand, and it is the most urgent part of this story. Snakes are vanishing. Around the world, reptile populations are in quiet, accelerating decline, pressured by habitat loss, by roads, by the destruction of the wetlands and field edges they depend on, and above all, by chemicals. When you put down rodent poison, the rodent does not simply die. It staggers, slowed and dying, into the open, where the snake, the owl, the hawk, the fox catches it easily. The poison passes up the chain, into the very predators that were controlling the rodents for free. Studies of birds of prey have repeatedly found rodenticides in the bodies of the majority of animals tested. A quiet contamination working its way through every predator that feeds on what we have poisoned. We poison the problem, and in doing so, we poison the solution. And the result is a yard that needs more poison every single year. The garter snake is also a bioindicator, a living measurement of the health of the land. Because it sits near the top of a small food web, its presence requires everything beneath it to be intact. The worms, the amphibians, the insects, the clean, damp soil that holds it all together. A yard with a thriving snake is a yard that is genuinely, biologically alive. And when the snakes disappear, they are almost always the first sign that something further down has already begun to break. So what do you do now that you know what is living under your porch? The single most valuable thing you can do is nothing. Leave it. A garter snake poses no real danger to you, your children, or your pets. It is non-venomous to humans, shy to the point of timidity, and far more interested in escaping you than facing you. Its only defenses are to flee or to release a harmless musk if it is cornered. It does not want your house. It wants the cool, damp, undisturbed margin beneath your steps, and the slugs and rodents it finds there. If you want to support it, and there are good reasons to, the changes are small. Leave a corner of the yard a little wild, a loose pile of stones, a patch of long grass, a flat board, or a piece of old wood where it can shelter and warm itself. Keep a shallow source of water nearby. And above all, put down the poison. Not just the harsh chemicals, but the rodenticides and the broad slug killers, and let the balance rebuild itself. The yard that has a snake does not need you to fight its battles.
It is already fighting them, silently, every night, beneath your feet. So the next time you catch that ribbon of movement sliding into the shadows beneath your porch, do not reach for the shovel. Pause. Look at it. Really look. That small, watchful creature has chosen your land. It has read your yard more carefully than you ever have. It is hunting the things you cannot see, in the hours you are not awake, asking nothing from you but to be left alone. It has been doing this in places like yours since long before there were porches to hide beneath. It is not an intruder. It is, in every quiet and practical sense, the oldest guardian your home has ever had, and its presence is a warning written in the gentlest possible hand that your land is alive, that it is worth protecting, and that something out there is already protecting it. Leave it there. Watch what it does. And if you have spent your whole life flinching from the snake in the grass, perhaps today is the day that changes.
Have you ever found a snake living in your yard, your garden, or beneath your steps, and felt that flicker of fear before you understood what it was really doing there? Tell me about it in the comments below. I read every single one, and the snake stories are always among the most extraordinary that people share in this community. And if you want to understand another silent guardian, one that does not move along the ground, but works the soil itself from the inside, turning your earth into something living while you sleep, the next story is already waiting for you.